the Almost 20 podcast. The Almost 20 podcast is a podcast for people in their late teenage years going to their 20s, and also for people in their 20s. If you're someone who's passionate about self development, self growth, and basically all things self, then this podcast is definitely for you. Today is an extra special episode, an exciting one at that, because I have an amazing guest today with me. He's a student leader, a teenpreneur, the founder of Mubarak Collections and the Law Academy, both of which I consider his brainchild. Aliu, how's it going, man? How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, Martin. And you?
Yeah, I'm alright, honestly. I'm alright.
Yeah.
So, Aliu, could you tell us a bit about yourself? Who is Aliu Muhammad Mubarak?
Okay, thanks for the question. Aliu Mohammed Mubarak is a handsome, sexy young guy
Nice one.
who is super ambitious and
Yeah,
just have diverse, multifaceted passions, right? And
yes,
he's someone who is on his self-development journey. He's just working to be a better person one day at a time.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
All right. I've said this too many times, especially with people I normally hang out with, that when somebody
Yeah.
mentions they're on their self-development journey, I feel excited for some reason. And it might sound weird, but I
Yeah.
feel excited and I love that, Sha. When I was doing the
Yeah.
introduction, I did mention that you are the founder of Mubarak Collections and the Law Academy. Could you tell us a bit about that? Like, what is Mubarak Collections and what is the Law Academy? What are they all about?
All right. Mubarak Collections is an online marketplace owned by me. So it's a place where we sell goods and offer services, and we basically connect buyers and sellers, right? And our products are top notch, the best price, the best quality that you can get anywhere in Nigeria. And then the Law Academy is a mentorship program tailored to just newly admitted law students, to mentor them on starting their undergraduate studies and helping them navigate it, the difficulties, right? Teaching them the secrets, right, and so on. So that's
Yes.
what it's all about. Just tailored to their welfare and growth and academic
Yes.
excellence.
That's really nice. After this recording, I'm heading straight to Mubarak Collections. No wasting of time.
Because
So,
we've got,
what kind of goods and services does Mubarak Collections have? When you say he offers goods and services, do you mean
yeah.
every single kind of goods and services? Every.
Okay. Not necessarily every. I mean, I can't even Amazon and
Yeah.
Jumia and every they don't sell everything, right?
Yeah.
We basically deal on clothing, that is shirts and
Yes.
these nice clothing. We deal on footwears, from shoes to sneakers to palms and every other thing. We also have a section that deals with internet subscription and the
Yes.
rest. We have a section that
That's
deals
like
with,
data plans and the rest of that, right?
yeah, yeah. And then we have a section that deals with handmade beads, and handmade
Yes.
material, like from waist string to
Yeah.
um what is it, to bracelets. We even offer customized services for those top-notch materials and the best design you can get anywhere.
Damn. Like seriously, after now, I'm not playing. I'm heading straight to Mubarak Collections.
Of course,
All my checklist, I'm ticking them off immediately there.
yeah. We are ready for sales and I'm waiting for you.
All right then. So heading
Yeah,
straight into today's topic, let's dive right in. Today's topic,
yeah.
as you know, is being the firstborn, a topic that I am sure most of our fellow firstborns, oof, this topic is probably going to hit home to them. And I'm sure you and I, we both relate to this topic, considering the fact
Mm,
that we are both firstborns, right?
yeah,
Like this topic
yeah,
is going to be an exciting one. So let's just head
yeah.
straight into it. What's
Can't wait.
what's the first thing that comes into your mind when you think about being the firstborn, or when you hear the word like firstborn? What's the first thing that comes into your mind?
Well, the first thing that comes into my mind for me is responsibilities. From being a responsible human being myself to being responsible for others, right? From my
Yeah.
siblings and family and every other thing.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, it's as though firstborn, the word firstborn is synonymous with responsibilities, like you said. I guess
Yeah,
the word responsibility is quite synonymous with firstborn, I would say, in some sense. So I'd like to ask you,
yeah.
what is it like being the firstborn for you? Like, what has your experience been so far? Could you tell us a bit about that?
It has been a combination of bittersweet experiences, right? I'll start with the bitter aspect, right? So that I end with
Yes, the sweet
I
one.
end with the sweet
Yeah.
aspect. So the bitter aspect basically has to do with restrictions, and that
Yes.
is mostly parental restrictions, and this thing of not having the opportunity to enjoy your childhood the way your junior ones. I don't know, like
Yes.
if you relate to that, right?
That's not even a question for me on my end. I definitely relate. I definitely relate with this part
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. So as for the restrictions part, sometimes, they are just overbearing restrictions on you. You are not allowed to go out to this place,
Yes.
and then your junior one who is now the age
Mm.
that you were when you were being restricted is allowed to, you understand, engage in those
Yes.
things, and nobody is nobody is restricting her and things like that. Yeah. So it's
Yes.
basically restrictions.
I
And
definitely. I
but I
definitely.
don't, yeah, I'm not like resentful about it. But yeah, I
Yes.
mean it could have been better.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I definitely relate with that part of
Yeah.
growing up with having a different childhood, and
Mhm.
this is not something that I feel like might be very specific to some people. I feel like most firstborns, right? Most
Yeah.
firstborns, their experience might have been like that. In the sense
Hmm.
that during their own childhood, they probably had a very strict, somewhat strict. Maybe it's not
Yeah.
bad. Yeah, maybe it's not bad
Yeah.
for some people, but for some people, the entire pattern or the entire method that they used growing up is different from their siblings, right? Should we even get into the
Yeah.
aspect of phones? Our own turn. I don't know if it was the same thing for you, but I know our own turn, my own turn, particularly growing up, phones, particularly smartphones, were something that you should even dream of getting probably after your WAEC, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
then look at my younger siblings. Let me not even talk. Let me not even talk. People that have barely even reached the senior side, they have phones already, right?
Yeah. I
So
completely
yeah,
relate with you on that. I mean, my first phone was this what they call it. It's a Nokia phone, right? And the only thing it
yes,
can do is call someone, and then the only fun thing that's in there
yes,
is playing snake games and
yes,
those games, which as at then sha was a luxury, right? Because
yes,
not many people had access to them. But um, and then I think I had my first smartphone. That should be GS3 or something.
yes.
Yeah,
You're a
and you
big
can
boy, you
imagine.
had your own at GSS3, like wow, lucky you. Lucky you indeed. Mine was still
Really?
S.
Oh my! I mean, your parents love you now, so really.
You did not just.
And
But
yeah, and now I
yes,
see my sister. Sure, my sister had her first smartphone. That
yeah.
should be when she was in, I think it should be JS1, something like that. Yeah,
You see
should
what
be
I'm saying?
JS1.
You see what
And
I'm
I'm like,
saying? It is
and
it is it is so different. Why do you think it's
so,
like that?
so
No, honestly, why do you think
different.
it's like that? Why do you think that for us?
Hmm,
Like I feel like
hmm,
most firstborns now that are listening, right? I'm not
yeah,
saying that this podcast is actually restricted to just firstborns, right? But today's
yeah,
topic is particularly for the firstborns. But why do you
hmm,
think that it's like that? Why do you think that most of the firstborns, their experiences were a little bit different in the sense that they didn't have, would it be safe to call it freedom?
Yes, yes. I
Well,
think
why do you think that?
to an
Yeah.
extent, yeah. We
Why do
are.
you think that they didn't have that freedom? That's this freedom that the younger ones now of this time have.
Mm. Well, to me, I think I'm gonna say this from a parent's perspective. Um, I'm gonna use an analogy here. Now, do you remember the first time that you got maybe your smartphone or something?
Yes,
The
I
first
remember.
now you do you know how you catered for it and cared for it, and it was
Yes,
and
yes,
even I don't know if you were like that, but definitely I was like that at an extent, even overprotective with it,
yes,
right? But now maybe that one got spoiled or something, and then the second one you're not as overprotective as you are with it. So I think it's similar to parents and parenting. Since we are their first issue, right?
yes,
They are new to the world of parenting,
yes.
and they just have to. Well, they have good intentions. Whatever they did was with good intentions, right? Even though
Hmm.
at
That
times
good
they were
intentions,
overbearing. Yeah,
that good
at times they were
intentions,
overbearing.
eh?
Hello, really? It
that
was.
that good intentions, eh?
No,
Like
it
it
was.
will.
I mean, yeah,
Nah.
but they were being too strict. But yeah, it was everything was with wanting the best for us and wanting us to become
Yeah.
better people. Yeah, that's just it. That's how I say it.
Yeah. Even when we talk about like us having a different childhood experience, right?
Yeah.
I would say that in the sense of that childhood experience and everything, I feel like for me personally, right, aside,
Mm,
the issue of the phone, which was annoying on its own, it's an entirely different story on its own. I feel like
yeah.
for me, being the firstborn, my own experience was that I
Mm,
felt like I had to, grow up quickly, right?
yeah.
And it's not as though
Yeah.
I'm complaining, right? It's not as though I'm
Mm,
complaining. The thing, it actually did help me, as it helped me, right? And
I.
I feel like in the sense of it helping me, it kind of helped me, would I say, become more mature and responsible,
Mm,
even though most of my friends they'll beg to differ. But it helps
yeah.
me in the sense of being mature, being responsible, and all of that. So there's that. Do you also relate with
Yeah.
the
Definitely.
growing up fast and being mature early than
Yeah.
your younger ones? To the
Yes,
point that
I can
sometimes you
relate.
would even see some things they are doing and you'd be like, when I was your age, but you don't want to sound like some sort of grandpa.
I mean, yeah, I completely relate with that. I know the aspect of sounding like a grandpa. I mean, my sister, I'm a Gen Z, but
Yes.
my sister usually says that I come from the Stone Age, right?
That's brutal. Not even Gen
Brutal.
X or even previous
No,
generations. Stone
Stone
Age.
Age.
Yo.
Why does she say that? Because of my, will I say it's maturity? I don't know, but yeah, I'm me always giving advices
Yes.
and so being sometimes unnecessarily matured, right? You feel like
Yes.
I cannot even have this Gen Z vibe and the rest.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I relate with
So
that. I
yeah,
get that.
yeah. So definitely it has helped. And no, no, no. It has been very helpful in
Yeah.
making me quite matured. And yeah, I mean, hmm, it has really helped me a great deal to be also independent, except from being matured, right? So I
Yes.
tend to like embark on adventures on my own,
Ooh,
and that
adventures.
when I mean adventures, it's not a
No,
climbing
no, you
mountain
said
thing or something like
adventures
that.
in Nigeria. I was wondering which adventure again now.
Please, Martin, stop that. When I mean adventure, oh my gosh, you know what I mean. You do not want me to explain. So not
I do not. Young man, explain yourself. What do you mean by
okay,
adventures?
when I mean
Because me,
adventure,
I've
maybe
not had adventures. Explain to our
chill.
firstborns and other listeners how you have adventures in Nigeria, please.
Okay, when I mean adventure, it's not necessarily the things we see on Disney or
Like Dora the Explorer
this
kind of
kind.
adventure.
Yeah, it's not that. So all I mean is just maybe a pet project, you embark on it by yourself. I mean, it's an adventure, right?
Yes.
It's the process of
Eh?
learning, exploring, and discovering. So come on, Martin, stop.
Whatever you say.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it has been very, very, very helpful. I mean, there are some kids my age or even older than
Yes.
me. Well, I won't be
Yes.
mentioning my age here. So
Yeah. Even you don't
um,
even need to mention your age. All
going,
our listeners need to know
yeah,
is that you're Gen Z. We are all Gen
yeah,
Zs.
yeah, yeah. So they are quite older, but I don't know if this is a comparison that counts. But owing to the fact
Yes.
that maybe they are last borns and they are, and then you see the level of maturity. You understand? Well,
Yes.
it's not. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Wait, are you trying to say that like in kids your age, right? People your age, but they are not
Yeah, and
firstborns, right? They are
yes, and
lastborns
people older
and they are
than
not
me.
mature.
Um, Not all, but majority that I've encountered, right? It's when I
Yes.
mean they're not mature, there is this definition of maturity that I have,
No, I
and
feel yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and like they don't tend to like align with that, and I don't know, yeah, 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 I
No,
just
I think I kind of get where I think I kind of
yeah,
get. Majority of people I hang around with, most of them are not firstborns. Yeah, at least the
yeah,
ones I've hung around before. So from what you're saying, I
mm,
think I can understand it from. I understand it. I do. I do.
yeah,
I feel like most firstborns, not all of them, oh, but majority of
yes,
firstborns,
not
there's just
all,
this thing of maturity. Yeah, that you just
yes,
yeah, you just see there like, I get that. Do you think that there
yeah,
are any bad sides? I mean, we've mentioned the good sides of this. We've mentioned the, being more responsible, being mature.
yeah.
Like there are the good sides of it. Do you think there are any? I thought it might not be something really bad, though, but anything at all that would count as, would I say, a bad side to being the firstborn? Does that even make sense? Is there really a bad side to being the firstborn, or is there some side that is not so good to being the
Well,
firstborn?
to me, I've already mentioned it before, which is the restrictions aspect. It's not necessarily like bad, but it was
Yes,
a bit sore, right? It was a bit
yes, yes.
bitter. Yeah,
Definitely
so
not an exciting thing.
yeah, yeah. So, but I think it has also helped in shaping us, right? And you should
Hmm.
understand that different firstborns have different and particular experiences. But yeah, it's just the restriction part, and it's not necessarily. I don't really see it as a very bad thing, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We mentioned. I mean, you did mention and
Mm,
gave that wonderful analogy about
mm,
the way parents you likened it to the phone and taking care of it and all of that. And I did
yeah.
like the analogy of it. But do you think that
Yeah.
parents maybe unintentionally were kind
Yeah.
of test subjects? I don't even know if this is the question I should ask because I feel like we've already talked about this part, right? But I
Yeah.
just felt like maybe I should ask it again. But do you think that parents maybe they used us as test subjects? I don't know if that sounds weird. Or maybe
Mm.
would you say that firstborns could actually be considered, children who were sort of, let's say, test subjects for their parents in a way that it came with good things and then it came with its bad
Yeah.
things too?
Yeah, I mean, yes, if you ask me, yeah,
Yeah.
because um we were the first, right? And
Yes.
so they were trying out different things on us.
Yes.
And to see maybe which will work better or something like with regards to parenting, maybe some people were subjected to helicopter parenting, people were subjected to
Yeah.
the strict type of parenting and but
What is
with the
helicopter
second
parenting?
helicopter parenting, I think it's this type of how do I explain it now? This type of parenting whereby parents are overprotective
Hmm.
about their children, right? They just want to dictate everything, and yeah, I think that is what helicopter parenting. I mean, you should do some googling, right? But I think
Okay.
yeah, that
Yeah.
is
Thank
basically
you.
what.
Thank you. Yeah. I would go and just do the Googling. Thank you for that explanation.
Yeah. So, but with the subsequent ones, why some people were subjected to very, very strict, you understand, and some were subjected to like being independent, like not they were not too strict with them, and at the same time they were not too
Yes.
loose with them. So, but you tend to notice one trend, and it is that with the second and subsequent ones, their styles their that is style of parenting and every other thing is almost always
Yes.
different with that of
Yes.
the first,
somewhat
first,
lenient.
yeah. And I mean, it is not always the same. I mean, maybe there might be exceptional cases, but it's not
Probably.
always the same.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
majority of them, it
Depends.
is this lenient
Yeah.
leniency. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that.
Mm, yeah.
So, Liu, are there any responsibilities that you faced growing up as the eldest that, might have shaped your personality or the choices you make today? Right? We've talked about a lot of things already, but would you say they
Mm,
are specific? And I feel like I would also talk about my own, right? But are there any
mm,
experiences or any responsibilities or anything at all? Well, I think I would round it up to experiences that you faced growing up as the
mm,
eldest, right? That you would
mm.
say this is something because I'm the firstborn. Have thought about it, and I think this is kind of attributes to why I do so and so things or why I behave this way. Is there anything like that?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, especially with the aspect of being, like I told you, my sister always tells me that I belong to the Stone Age and every other thing. So
Yes.
I think that can be attributed to the fact that I was, or I am, like a second parent to her, right? And
Yes.
then you are always saddled with the responsibility of making sure that your younger ones or those who look after you all right. Sorry, who look up to you are all right, right?
Yes.
See
Yes.
you from a certain light and so on and so forth. Yeah, so I mean, personally, at that, like I've said before, I am somewhat independent. I'm
Hmm.
somewhat vigilant, very vigilant.
Yes.
So I think that's whereby maybe those that are not in Nigeria might not really relate with this, but in
Yeah.
Nigeria, yeah, and the Nigerian parent is going out, lock this door,
Yes. Yes.
ensure
Yes, I relate
nobody
with that.
comes in, right? And then
Yes.
you are very, very vigilant. And even when you go to play with her, if anything should happen to her, even though it is her
Yes.
fault or the
Yes.
fault of your younger siblings, it is
You
definitely
are
you
the
that they are
one that
coming.
is, yes, you're carrying the cross of everything.
Yeah, yeah. So I think those have contributed in making me quite matured, right? Quite
Yes.
independent,
Yes.
and yeah. I mean, it doesn't
Right.
even start with the cleaning part and the cooking part. Even though I'm not such a good
Yes.
cook, I'm a,
Yes.
I'm a somewhat terrible cook, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I
I think
try.
that yeah. I think that
Yeah.
I think that for me, my own, I think it ties back to a couple of things. I think there are just a few things that I would say that
Mm,
shaped me and my own
yeah.
personality and choices. I think that I would consider
Mm,
myself to be somewhat mature, right? And that
mm,
maturity also comes with, in my own opinion, I feel like that maturity also comes with
mm.
some sort of overthinking, right? I feel like for me,
Yes, yes,
growing
I
up
relate with
as
that
the
actually.
firstborn, yeah, I feel like for my
Mm,
siblings, that's my younger ones, to them, it
mm.
doesn't really matter what's happening. Like they're just
Yeah.
concerned about the present, and if they're hungry, they want to
Yeah.
eat food. If this, yeah, it's just like, hey,
Yeah.
just give it like, yeah. But I feel like for me on my own end, there's this
Mm,
process of thinking about this and thinking about that, and I don't know,
mm.
does that entirely make sense?
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah,
trying to see
yeah.
how to put it.
No, I
Yes,
completely understand. I mean, there are some times that you're just like reminisce about the future, and then
yes, exactly.
you'll be like, okay, I have to plan my life well.
Exactly,
This,
exactly. If
and that.
yeah, I feel like even when it comes to not only just future things, but even when it comes
Yeah,
to basic things, you're thinking of how to
yes,
do this, how to
exactly.
arrange this, how to do this. But I feel like to the younger ones, it doesn't really matter. And I think that I
Nah, it just,
relate with that part where you mentioned something about when you mentioned something about when the parents go out and
mm,
you're like log this or log this. I feel like for the younger ones,
mm,
it does not at all. It does not concern them at
it's
all.
none of their
But for me, on
business.
the other
Yeah.
hand, there's this alertness. There's this
Mm,
articulate. You have
vigilance.
to just be
Yeah,
articulate. Yeah, all those things. Now, I'm not saying
yeah.
that some other like last born, second borns, the other
Mm,
children aside the first borns, they do not have that. I'm sure a lot of them have amazing qualities, by the
yeah,
way, right? But I'm
yeah.
saying that for most of the firstborns, me too, at least from my own perspective, being the
Mm,
firstborn has brought about this maturity and this alertness, like you mentioned, that
yeah.
ordinarily is quite different for other siblings, right? For other people. or
Yeah.
that, yeah, you get.
Yes, I completely understand.
Yeah. So let's talk about the pressures that come with being the
Mm,
firstborn in the sense of, setting an example. Right. I think
mm,
we've probably, even during our own personal conversations that we've had, we've definitely talked
yeah,
about this, right? And I'm sure every firstborn
yeah,
listening, they probably also relate with the pressures that come with being the firstborn. There's so many
yeah,
pressures that I feel like if we sat down here to just talk about, we will spend the entire day talking about pressures that the firstborns face. But from
yeah.
what you've faced and from everything you've experienced so far, do you think there
Mm.
is a kind of way or some sort of advice or anything that you think that a person or a firstborn going through, like how would they handle these pressures that they're going through?
Yeah, for me, there is a quote in our local parlance that goes like, "Go do as your strength reach." I don't know, Martins, if you know that.
I'm not. I am from a different country. I don't understand
Oh,
your.
So now you
Yes,
are
I
denying
forgot to tell
your
you
motherland. You should be as in short.
who's
Don't worry.
who's sorry, whose motherland. I'm sorry.
Your motherland. But don't worry. Let's move on. Let's
Ha.
move on. Yeah, okay, no problem. Apostle will hear of this.
Let's move
So
on,
yeah.
like you said.
So it's just doing to your absolute best, right? You do not have
Yes.
to kill yourself because all of a
Yeah.
sudden you became or you are something that you didn't even ask for, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you do not also have to run away or shy completely away from those responsibilities. It's all about finding a healthy balance and doing
Yeah.
your best, not killing yourself. That's just what I will have to
Yeah.
say with that aspect. You examine things and then just know what works.
Yes. Finding a healthy balance. I really love that. And I would even love you to expatiate on that. I feel like for most firstborns, everybody has different pressures that they're facing. Some
Mm,
people might be financial pressure to succeed.
mm,
Some of them is
mm,
academic pressure, setting the standards or even
mm,
maintaining the standards. Some people
mm.
it's different kind of pressure, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you mean when you say finding a balance with it? Do you mean finding a balance which they as much as you can do? And I don't just want you to explain on that. Do you mean finding a balance within doing as much as you can and also keeping yourself sane? What do you mean by that, finding a healthy balance?
Yeah. I think you've already stated it. Doing as much as you can and still
Yeah,
catering for yourself. Not, I mean,
yeah,
come on. We came to this world by ourselves, right?
yeah,
And definitely would go back, to our maker and the rest. So I think it's first of all, first and foremost,
yeah,
in aspects like this, we should learn to be cynical, not to be cynical as in a bad way, but
yes,
yeah, putting ourselves first. Then definitely those responsibilities they would always be there, but
yeah. It's
you
kind of
cannot.
inevitable.
Yeah, they are inevitable, but at the same time, you can imagine neglecting everything about your life and just focusing on maybe one
Yes,
responsibility or the other because
yes,
you
yes,
happen to be the first child.
yes.
It's no now. Then what is the reason for life, right? Just neglecting yourself
Actually,
completely on the rest.
actually,
Yeah, so it doesn't.
yes.
So you should learn to find a healthy balance, cater for yourself, then do as much as you can with the rest of the responsibilities.
Wow, that makes sense. Okay. So would you say personally, I would like to ask you, would you say personally at some point this kind of expectations,
Yeah.
because you just basically gave us advice on how to handle these expectations and all of that, and I really
Mm,
liked that. I would like to ask you, would you say that at some
yeah.
point the expectations that you had personally as the firstborn, would you say that at some point, they were too much to the point that you felt some sort of, resentment or even burnout towards wherever or whatever external factors that pressure was coming from? Did you ever reach that point?
Yes, I mean, once in a while, I did feel
Yeah.
some pressures and not necessarily resentment in a bad way, but yeah, I felt like I wish it would have been someone else. You get that feeling, right?
Yeah, I
But
do.
yeah, but in all, I mean, it's all good. We are moving.
I guess. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess. I think for me at some point it was just that I was just somewhat sad. It was like, did I even ask to be the firstborn? Like, what's all
Mm,
these things that I'm
mm,
experiencing? I guess at some
mm.
point it's like, yeah, even the parents too, they are also going through life. Everybody's going through life like
Yeah,
for the first
exactly.
time, right? There's
Yeah.
nobody got a manual as to how to do this life thing. But at some points,
Exactly.
it can get frustrating, right?
So yeah,
And yeah, and I felt like what's all this? Like, what are all these expectations? What are all this? You're the firstborn, you're handling so many responsibilities. So I did feel that,
yeah, can relate to
yeah,
that as well. I mean, once in a while.
yes,
I mean, come on now. Even in our current studies, I mean, there are times where you meet certain topics in our academics and the rest. You have certain
yes,
experiences, and you're like, oh gosh, this is so tough. I mean, I believe you get that. And like,
yes,
why
I
me?
do.
Yeah.
Yes,
But in all, it's all good, right? We just have to keep moving.
yes.
So long as there's
Yeah, you
life,
gotta
right?
keep pushing
There is,
as hope.
yeah, I
Yeah, I
think,
feel like
yeah,
for
there is
me,
hope.
when yeah, just to even touch on this part in terms of academics, I feel like for me, in terms of the academic side, when it comes to these kind of things, I feel like for me, I don't know if I've told you
Mm,
before during one of our conversations, but I feel like, most of my parents, I say most of my parents, sorry, I feel like my parents, the both of them
mm,
actually did study
yeah.
art, right? They studied the arts, right? Totally and completely from secondary school to university. Everything they did was art and social sciences,
Mm,
right? So none of them did touch science the way
mm,
that me now, as the
mm,
first child, I'm studying, the science side and all of that. So I feel like there was a lot of things I had
mm,
to navigate on my own. And some people might relate to this, seeing subjects that your parents might not be conversant with, right? And it's not as
yeah.
though there's too much of a problem, but I feel like maybe it could have been better if they at least went through that
Mm,
part, right? And I'm just using this because it's something that was personal to me. My parents
mm,
were art students and art everything, and I was on the science side, right? And
mm.
there were some concepts. At some point, I'm like, what's all this? You see that subject for that mass? I almost ran mad. Like, you're lucky you're talking to a sane Martins right now. If not, you would have seen me on the streets. You see further mass. And then I'm just so angry because then there was this pressure of, guy, you have to understand this further mass. What's this core I'm seeing? And I'm like, you people don't understand at all. Like, you people don't understand. Well, come and differentiate. Do the Y, the X here for me. Tell me why people are shouting and say you people went through these things. So yeah, I do
Come and
relate
find
with
the
that.
X and the Y for me.
I am telling you. I am telling you. So
Oh
yeah,
my
I do
God.
relate to that, honestly. I
Yeah.
do relate to that. So I'd like to ask you, I feel like you being a student leader, like I mentioned
Mm,
earlier, right? And also being a
yeah.
firstborn, that's the eldest. I feel in a way, these roles, they kind
Mm,
of complement each other in a way. So I would love to
yeah.
ask you, are there any lessons that being the eldest or being the firstborn has taught you that, maybe every now and then these lessons, they kind of help you, or would I say kind of make the role easier as a student leader?
Yes, yes. I mean, in the scenario of leadership and followership and things like that, there are a
Yes.
lot of things involved. And
Mm-hmm.
you should understand that as a firstborn, especially if you had
Yes.
siblings, you've already played
Yes.
the role. Now it all depends on how you played yours, right? But
Yes. Yes.
speaking from my experience, has taught me a lot, from
Yes.
learning to be patient to learning to
Yeah.
see things from other people's perspectives and learning
Yeah.
to better handle conflicts. I mean, sometimes, but most times, I tend to be better at mediating and navigating conflicts and the rest. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the role of being a firstborn, to me, I think it's a role of leadership, and it's a role which complements being a student leader as well. I mean, you
Yes.
remember those times when your siblings, as the case may be for you, would annoy the hell out of you.
Yeah.
And if you follow it like that, you will be giving some people bows and some people bars, and who knows.
Yes. Yes.
But but you just have to be patient and just swallow
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, I mean, it's same thing with leadership. As well. There are sometimes people annoying the life out of you. You know, they annoy you so
Yes.
bad, but you just have to
Yeah.
be patient and see
Yeah.
how you can just better navigate things. Yeah.
Yeah. I get
So
that. I feel like even in the sense of empathy, like you
yeah.
mentioned, when it comes to
Mm,
having even siblings, right? I
yeah.
feel like at some point it teaches you to be empathetic. If I don't know if that's the word, or understanding, seeing different opinions and kind of understanding those opinions as well. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like that also adds to it, right? Does it? Would you relate to that too?
Yeah, I mean, I can completely relate with that. As I've said before, it's all about you being able to see things from different perspectives, knowing when to be
Yes.
subtle with your actions and when to enforce certain actions and the rest. So I think that's what it's all about.
Yes. Okay. So, Aliu, we're almost reaching the end of today's episode, which has been amazing
Okay.
actually so far.
It's been
I
very
would just like to
beautiful.
ask you one more question, right? And I
Okay.
would like to get your advice on it. So, I want to ask you if there's any final advice you could give to the listeners that are currently listening, or even particularly the firstborns that are listening. Is there any final advice, word of advice, would I say word of comfort that you can give?
Well, I would say, sweethearts out there, including you, Martin, we've got only one life and we've got to live it well. You need to care for yourself, love yourself, do things that are in the best interest of yourself. And then, as a firstborn, just don't allow the responsibilities, how do I put it now, to be so overbearing on you that you fail to cater for yourself, right? Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. There will always be responsibilities and there will always be good and bad times, but in all, we should just learn to live life and, if possible, happily.
Yeah, that's really nice. Thank you for that,
Yeah,
Aliyu. That was really
thank you,
nice.
sir.
So we've come to
Thank
the
you.
final and the usual conclusion that we've been having in every single episode of the podcast, whereby I summarize the points
Yeah.
discussed. Although in this episode, I'm going to be taking the conclusion from
Mm,
Ali's advice that he gave us, right? And from
yeah.
Ali's advice, he talked about taking care of yourself, loving yourself, realizing that you have just one life to live, right? So why not just make the best of it, right? And also realizing that
Mm,
as the firstborn, the responsibilities are always going to be there, but you should try your
yeah.
best to not let those responsibilities outweigh you down, or
Mm,
when I say weigh you down to the point that you
yeah.
neglect yourself, right? You came to
Yeah.
this life to live
Yeah.
for you, and in
Mm,
as much as those responsibilities are always going to be there, you should not also neglect, your personal self too, yourself rather.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I would also like to add that you're not alone, right? In this thing, there are
Yeah.
so many other firstborns that are going through the same thing. So even if you feel
Exactly.
as though you're alone in this, I promise
Mm,
you are not. Okay, there's me, there's Aliu.
yeah.
That's we are going we are going through all of these things, right? So anytime you feel any sort of way, just remember I and Aliu, we are going through it. Anytime you feel like
Yeah.
shit, like this thing is too much, just know I and
Yeah.
Aliu, we got your back, okay? We are all doing this together. And I hope
Yeah.
that at the end of it will be something that would all look back and laugh
Mm,
on.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. We've come to the end of today's episode. That's all we've got for today. Aliu, thank you so
Nice.
much for
Thank
honoring us with your presence in today's episode. You guys,
Thank
you
you
guys
too,
should check out.
Martin, for having
Yeah.
me.
All right. So you guys should go check out Aliu on Instagram and check out Aliu on Facebook. All of these links will be in the description below. Aliu,
Mm.
Mubarak Collections is also on Instagram and Facebook, right?
Yes, it's
Okay.
also on Facebook and
So
Instagram.
someone who's listening to this podcast or this episode for the first time and they're hearing about the Law Academy for the first time, who is it? Someone who's a
Mm,
law student, is
mm.
the law academy restricted to just students from a particular institution, 100 level students, 100 level law students from a particular institution, or is it across the country?
Okay, it's across the country, so across Nigeria, right? 100
Yes.
levels then across Nigeria, and
Yes.
we kind of have limited slots, right? Because we don't want
Yeah.
to, because I'm not the only one doing this.
Yeah.
We are a group, and then we don't want to take people that we cannot deliver well for, right? So the
Yeah.
slot is just limited to 150 persons. So it's like a paid
Yeah.
mentorship and everything.
Y-
You would have one-on-one access, have relevant materials, get access to databases that will be of help to you, and definitely your success is guaranteed.
Yeah, you guys have heard that right.
Uh,
So waste no time in checking out the Law Academy. So Aliu, someone who wants to check out the Law Academy, where can they find the Law
well,
Academy?
currently, the Law Academy is not on any social profile, so they can just DM me, and then um,
DM you on
we tell
Instagram or
them
on
the procedures and
Facebook.
everything. Instagram, Facebook, and preferably my WhatsApp. Maybe I'll be dropping my WhatsApp or my Telegram line here for you. All right.
Yeah, you guys are going to find it in the episode description below.
Yeah.
Right, that's all we've got for today. Aliu, thank you once again for joining
Thank you
today's
so much,
episode.
Martin, for having me. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
it's
pleasure. So thank you for opening your doors to me.
Yeah, as I'd always say, thank you for listening and I appreciate you for tuning in. Don't forget to follow the podcast. Don't forget to rate the podcast. Don't forget to share this podcast to anybody who you feel like would benefit a thing or two from today's episode or from the podcast as a whole. Check out the Almost 20 podcast on Instagram at Almost 20 podcast. The link is in the episode description below. Follow me, your host, on Instagram at underscore Guy Martins. Once again, the link is in the episode description below. Mubarak Malections, the Law Academy, and Aliu's social media handles are all in the episode description below. New episodes every Sunday, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.